All right, guys, what is going on? This is the perfect sales script for closing web design clients and comprehensive marketing solution offers. Now, the reason why I am making this video is because the amount of stuff I have seen on YouTube and shared in other places of people talking about sales scripts and things for web design, and it is some of the most fluffy, vague, just non-linear in the approach. Like so much stuff about you need to ask emotional questions and you need to make sure that, I'm trying to think of the best way to articulate this. The amount of times I've seen so much like fluffy and vague, just kind of like BS stuff about like, well, you need to ask people how they feel and things along those lines regarding web design. And it's like, no, these are business transactions. Like this is like linear. It's mathematical. It's ridiculous. And it's funny because the same people that put out stuff about like, yeah, you need to ask emotional questions. You look at the numbers that they talk about and it's like, yeah, 6 figures a year. When it's like, how about 6 figures per month or multi 6 figures per month, right? And this is what happens when you actually have like a linear sales process like we're about to go over right now. Speaking of which, this picture right here, if you're wondering, this is from a time frame when I was pushing I guess you could say, I'm trying to think of the most compressed explanation of this, a VSL funnel setup offer with some basic copywriting, development, things along those lines, right? Using this exact sales script and this exact sales process. Okay, so that offer, it was like maybe 400 or 500 grand closed in a couple months, but the time frame that you're seeing right here is basically 195 grand in 2-ish sort of months, with a single week closing over $50,000 in deals. So this is very tried and true. Have had literally hundreds of clients, students, so on and so forth use this as well. This is evergreen. This is not just some like foo-foo, like vague, fluffy BS that's only applicable to web design. Like you can use this to get your clients' act together as well regarding sales processes and whatnot. Now, getting straight into it, we have the table of contents right here. Speaking of which, the link for this is going to be in the description of this video. So you can follow along with me if you'd like and take notes, crack open a Google Doc, whatever you want to do. Use this. Please use this. Like I'm not going to like gate this behind like an email opt-in or something. Like that's stupid. If you use it, you're going to get results faster and so on. Anyway. We got the table of contents right here where you could follow along with. Now, earnings disclaimer. Remember that according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, you have less than a 1% probability of hitting $1 million per year. I'm not saying that you're not going to do it. I'm saying that I just want to make it very clear that I'm not making any sort of income or earnings claim when I go over this. Okay, this is, if you don't use it, it's not going to do anything for you. So, the linear sales process for closing web design clients. Now, please keep in mind that the following is an on-call script with basic explanations attached to the sections. This is not the full-length sales training, nor does this contain... I'm actually going to zoom in a little. Hold on. This is probably a little bit difficult for you to read if you're watching the video. This is not the full-length sales training, nor does this contain any of the pre-call nurturing training, the content marketing training, pre-framing stuff, all of that, right? I'm going to put that out for you guys soon enough. The full-length sales training is currently under construction and is going to be released relatively soon. You can use this as your repeatable framework for properly closing clients. Us and students, clients, have used this for deal sizes between 5,000 USD to 50,000 USD offerings. And depending on your market, the wording and details of this are going to change, but this structure is absolutely bulletproof. And you'll see what I mean. It's based more on a sales argument format, and it's linear in nature and can be replicated in any form or fashion. You just have to tweak and change some of the wording. Now, short preface, and then we'll get right into it. It's like very short here. I want to preface this by saying that the higher your pricing gets, the more your offering is going to transmute from just simple web design or web development to more of a comprehensive marketing solution. Okay? As your pricing increases, the more it is going to be focused on generating a tangible and measurable revenue increase for clients. And I promise this has to do with the sales script. Just bear with me for a moment. For those that don't consider themselves an established agency yet, you should not be afraid of this fact, right? And when I go into more of the sales script shortly and you see how it's formatted, it is talking more on the outcome basis, far less like little design stuff, which at the end of the day, when you're selling to like genuine business owners, not just like other people that are interested in design, they want to hear tangible benefits, time saving, money saving, frustration saving, revenue generation. That is the format of this, and this is why it actually works. It's not just like airy, like, well, how do you want your brand to look? How do you want people to feel? Real business owners, that matters to them, but it is on the priority list. It is not even anywhere near number one, okay? So this approach and this angle of attack towards presenting this as more of a comprehensive marketing solution, if you are someone that wouldn't consider yourself more of like an established agency yet, you should not be afraid of this fact, okay? Most of marketing and sales, and those of you that are experienced and are established and actually have an organization probably remember this stage, it is an on-the-fly learning process. And another huge thing to remember is that marketing is always changing anyway because markets are fundamentally dynamic. So even people that are like marketing experts are constantly learning new things in order to stay relevant and stay on top of things. So like everyone is always figuring this out. Like the emperor has no clothes, okay? When I was getting started, I took on multi-5-figure projects that required me to learn entire new skill sets that I didn't have during the delivery process because I was committed to generating results for customers that I could use as future marketing and sales collateral. And this is literally what people are paying you to do, okay? They are giving you money to figure things out so they don't have to. If you don't know how to do something yet, treat this process as if someone is paying you to learn. Everyone I know that does serious numbers operates like this, okay? This is called the product market fit process. After all, why would you spend your valuable time building or learning something if you don't have market demand validated yet, right? Exactly. Now, how this correlates to the sales script is that, as you're going to see, very little of it actually discusses like design. It is more outcome oriented, and it is about actually achieving something, which might sound a little like, whoa, that's like a, what's the word I'm looking for? Oh, this is like a whole like brain blast. Like, whoa, I never thought of it that way. But like, that's how you close these higher ticket deals and also automate your processes more. Like once you apply this sales script and you kind of apply it unitarily throughout your whole business and like this general concept, everything gets significantly more streamlined and you can run higher and higher volume, which you could see on other videos on the channel and as you just saw here. Anyway, this sales script is unitary in nature, foundational in its approach, and evergreen. It will work regardless of your web design, development, or marketing specialization, meaning all of these, at the end of the day, remember that all of these, web design, developments, your sub-marketing specialization, these are all components of marketing. Marketing is not a component of web design, okay? So you can use this sales script for yourself and also to assist clients with their sales process, if you need to kind of get them in order and fix their entire system because they don't have their act together. All you need to do is literally just switch a few variables out, and you'll see what I mean. This is the exact same outline I have my own sales reps use, and that I use to this day. Whenever I personally hop in on calls just to like keep myself sharp, keep myself fresh, I have my sales reps use it. I use it myself. I have everyone use it, no matter what we are assisting someone do. So you can use this for yourself and for clients, okay? Use it and use it frequently. Now, getting right into the introductory phase. So, first things first, starting out with the intro. I'm going to move this. Hold on. I'll move this a little bit over just so I can keep this. It's fine, honestly. Okay, this is fine. So, starting off with the very beginning of the call, obviously you want to just ask, hey, John, can you hear me? And after each portion of the script outline, by the way, I do give descriptions of why we say anything. So just stick with me for a moment. Awesome. So just to give you an outline, these calls typically run about 30 to 45 minutes. You don't have a hard stop or anything at that time, right? I want to make sure that we don't have to like cut it off early, leave any questions unanswered. And then when they say, yes, I don't have any hard stop, anything like that, great. So this call is obviously about you and getting you results. However, before we get into it, I'll share a little bit about myself and our company to set the stage properly. My name is Vince, and I'm the owner of Website Factory, 7-figure web designer, I've been helping people / businesses like yourself. In my case, I would say like I've been helping web designers like yourself achieve results for time frame now, meaning like this is the result that you achieve them, and this is the typical time frame. Doesn't have to be like ironclad. Also, this is not verbatim, by the way. Like you don't have to say this like word for word, but you just want to like follow this in general. So if you have any questions at any point when I'm articulating what we do, don't be afraid to interrupt me and I can clarify. Sound like a plan? Yeah, Vince, sounds good. Awesome. Now, as you can probably guess, in order for me to determine if we can help you, I need to extract some information about what's currently happening in your business, your goals, so on and so forth. If we determine that everything is a fit, then we can go over what the process of working together looks like and our method of getting people like yourself results. If it just so happens that you're not a fit, then we'll direct you to something that's more appropriate. This next one, you want to use this only if you're talking to a small business owner or like a solo operator, like much, much smaller. If you pull this on like a, bigger business owner, and if it is a project size that is something that it is going to be a multi-call close, then obviously don't, pull this. But if it is a one-call close, all I ask is that if I do determine that you are fit and we go over what we offer, all that I ask is that you give me a clear yes or no at the end of the call so we can both be respectful of each other's time. Sound like a plan? You probably understand what I mean by that, like why I would say that we need to make sure that this is only applying to like a smaller business owner. When you deal with a larger business owner that just like they have all that experience of like marketing, sales and whatnot, and if it is going to be a multi-call close, then you don't want to use this. Any offer you're pushing, if it is a single call close, absolutely use this. I actually, you know what? Disregard this right here. Only use if talking to a small business owner or solar operator. I'll change this after the video, but only use this if it is a single call close. If this is something where it's like a large deal size and it is a multi-call close, I would hesitate on using that. But anyway, so this entire opening section, this opener specifically of the mentioning the time frame, like asking why they have a hard stop, anything like that. The reason we are asking that is to get a micro commitment of one, that they aren't in any rush and they have time to take this call, that they've actually cleared time to take this call. And we also want to prevent any sort of like, sorry, I got to run, I have a meeting right now moment, like right at the end, like after you pitch price. Like we basically want to make it so that they don't like pull any BS. It's weird. Obviously, we're dealing with mature individuals, most of the time. But this kind of just like sets the stage. If they do have a hard stop, and if they, if they inappropriately did schedule, say, something for like 30 minutes out or something, I'm going to be honest, it's actually within your interest to reschedule the call. You want to place yourself in that sort of higher frame of like, no, like this is, we're actually going to take the time to do this. This is not throwaway. This is like a big deal. We we take this very seriously, and you need to as well. That's kind of the energy that you need to like project outwards, right? Additionally, this is, just as I kind of mentioned, this is incredibly important in actually setting the frame or the control of the conversation, as well as just outright letting the prospect know how the call is going to be conducted, right? Just as well, you're actually doing your prospect a huge favor by telling them in the beginning that you want a yes or no. It increases the sales pressure is the word I would use, while simultaneously reducing tension, because you're just letting them know what's going to happen at the end of the call and that you're doing it out of mutual respect, not out of like trying to pressure them. Okay, so this is going to result in, a percentage chance increase that your prospect is going to make the right decision by the end of the call. Okay, that's why I really like this opener. Time and time again, it's professional, and it sets the stage that we're both respecting each other's time, X, Y, and Z. Now, moving into the discovery phase. All right, so, John, can you fill me in on some background? What caught your interest and motivated you to book in the call? This little opener right here, this is probably the part that's going to, depending on how they came in the door, whether that's through cold outreach, content marketing, paid advertising, whatever it may be, that part is going to change. Like, oh yeah, so, let's say paid advertising. Yeah, what caught, in any of my marketing or sales materials, what caught your interest and motivated you to, schedule in your time that we're, and the call that we're on right now, right? So you can kind of just mention whatever traffic method you used. Once again, obviously I am not a fan of cold outreach at all. I prefer content marketing and paid advertising. I absolutely abhor cold outreach, so, that's an entirely different conversation. But anyway, if this is not answered, if they don't naturally answer this from you asking this previous question, gotcha. So what are you struggling with as it relates to, and then you just mentioned the transformation you generate, say in my case, for like conversion rate optimization and actually generating more from paid advertising. I'd say so what is the current issue as it relates to your conversion rate, customer throughput and everything from current advertising? Okay. And you're trying to get 2 to 3 main bullet points here. You don't just want one, you kind of want to get the actual picture of what they're genuinely dealing with as it relates to sales and their entire marketing process, right? Just the website alone is simply not enough. It's not going to give you enough. That's what I'm looking for. If you just focus entirely on the web design and branding and that sort of stuff, it makes you a commodity because you are only providing a deliverable, not an outcome. You see what I mean? Okay, John, understood. Also, I almost skipped it. This part right here, only use this if talking to, once again, small business owner, solo operator. This one actually is if you're talking to someone that is, they're not super, super trained in marketing and sales and whatnot. Gotcha. So what effect would you say having the lower conversion rates, low paid advertising throughput, stuff like that have on your current life situation, everything with the business in general? Let them talk, let them get it out, right? They actually explain their situation. All right. And how long have you been dealing with those pain points or trying to fix this problem? Okay. Let them talk. Once again, I'm going to explain all this a lot more momentarily. I'm just going to go through the actual script. Okay, I see. And how are you currently dealing with those? Oh, we're just kind of looking around. I've looked at a few different checklists and different YouTube videos, but I haven't really tried to solve the problem yet. Oh, okay. Understood. Now, can I get what, current, when I say advertising level metric here, by the way, I'm talking about things that happen at their traffic generation level. That's what all these metrics are. And if you remember, the reason I call this a linear sales process is because we start from beginning to end of their entire sales process that they have for their customers. So like their customer journey. Because remember, if we are dealing with their marketing and sales process, we actually need to understand their customer journey and everything that is happening and what the numbers look like. What's funny is that when you ask these questions, what's very common is that when you ask the following couple of questions about like their essentially funnel metrics, they're going to realize by saying it aloud, or actually a lot of the time they're not going to know this off the top of their head, which is actually like a weird silent indication to themselves, like, damn, like I don't even know these. And this person is just like asking for them and trying to diagnose my problem on the fly. Like they actually know what they're doing, and like I need to get my shit together. It's a weird way of like, it's not only is this actually like relevant information for you to help them solve their problem, but it's also extremely like almost like jarring in a way that, I mean, it's literally making you look more professional than they are, because this is making it sound like this is something that they should know top of mind, which they actually should, but most business owners don't. That's why they're small. Okay, John. So, what's your current advertising spend? How much traffic are you generating to your website on a monthly basis? I don't need an exact number. Rough number's fine. Okay, understood. What's your current, when I say lead event level metrics, it means like what's like the percentage of their traffic that's actually turning to leads or opt-ins or add to carts. Doesn't matter what kind of business we're talking about, but something that the traffic, what percentage of the traffic is becoming leads and data, essentially. All right, John, what's your current opt-in rate, or how many emails are you getting? Like things along those lines. I don't need an exact number. Rough number's fine. Okay, understood. What's your current lead to conversion metric? Lead to conversion metric is something along the lines of, or what percent of people like become leads and convert, or sorry, what percent of leads convert essentially. This can be, how many, like what's your close rate if they run like a lead-based business? How many, what percentage of your add to carts actually result in purchases if they're like an e-commerce business, stuff like that. You're trying to find out their actual lead to conversion metrics. Next one, remarketing metrics. That's pretty simple. It's remarketing. It's like, email nurturing, post-purchase, email marketing, anything along those lines, like advertising, retargeting, remarketing metrics, right? We're trying to get like the just overall picture of what their funnel looks like and where the blind spots may be. Now, only use this next part if you can actually diagnose the problem that they have, like on the fly, right? Okay, I think I'm starting to see the issue here. This is a common problem most of our customers have when they come in. So let's say, for example, John's opt-in rate on his funnel is super low for some reason. Okay, John, I think I'm starting to see the issue here. It looks like your actual opt-in rate is low, which usually indicates that the clarity of your value proposition of this particular offer, so on and so forth, is, we just need to do a change in copywriting. Gotcha. Things like that. Like if you can do like a little diagnostic thing like that on the fly, dude, like people's confidence, because, it's like you're almost coming off like a doctor, right? If you can like diagnose on the fly and be like, oh yeah, I know exactly what's happening right now. People, the trust levels just go through the roof, right? Okay, John, and do you have any sort of like game plan in place to deal with this outside of being on this call right now, of course? The answer. Okay, understood. And what solutions, strategies, methods, services have you tried so far to fix this? Okay, they answer. And if they did try things in the past, okay, understood. So what did you like, or what did you not like about those things that you tried? Okay, and what we're trying to get here by asking these, by the way, is we are trying to, one, this is like a part sales psychology, part actually trying to gather information. This one is essentially trying to get them to say out loud that they don't have any game plan to deal with this. Okay, that's one thing. So it's like a subconscious play for that one. Next one is, this is actually more like almost research based. this is actually good for yourself to figure out more and more of what people actually struggle with, or like what things they've tried, so that you can have a better understanding of how they perceive what they're struggling with, if that makes sense. Like if they've bought paid ads courses in the past, that means not necessarily that they do, but that they believe their problem is with their paid advertising, for example, or conversion rate, email marketing, SEO, things along those lines. It's almost a way for you to aggregate data as to almost like where your customers are hanging out. One thing to keep in mind is that sales calls are not just to bring revenue in. The things people say on sales calls inform you of what your marketing materials and what your marketing messaging should be hitting on. Like if someone said like, yeah, let's say over and over and over, the people that you serve and that you speak to on sales calls, they say over and over and over that, yeah, I've bought paid ad courses before and I just never, I still feel like I'm just not getting the outcome that I'm looking for. That's literally a hook for an ad right there for you as the like web designer, developer, marketing solution provider, right? Where you can literally say in an ad hook something along the lines of like, if you are niche, if you're a plumber, if you're insurance, if you're a jewelry e-commerce brand and you've purchased God knows how many paid ads courses and you still feel like you just don't have it down. That's like you see what I mean? How that ad hook like literally calls someone out. So like your sales calls and like the data you get on sales calls of what people say they have, like this part, especially like the discovery phase, is basically you gathering information as to like what the hell to say in your marketing and advertising. It's actually crazy to me that like people don't know that or like think about that, right? Anyway, I'm not going to get too off base here. I'm just going to go through and explain each of these, but I just wanted to hit on that this informs you about your prospects. And like, this is not just like, okay, yep, yeah, you struggled with that. Okay, all right, give me your money. That's not what this is. This is actually you collecting data to inform your marketing, right? That's what sales calls are. It's like a data collection farm. Anyway, moving on to the future situation phase. Now, ideally, where do you want to take the business in the next 12 weeks, 16 weeks, so on and so forth? Okay, gotcha. So what effect would having that, would getting to that revenue amount or having this problem taken care of have on your life, current situation, that sort of thing? Once again, I'd only recommend using that talking to a small business owner, solo operator, things like that. Okay, understood. And John, what's stopping you from just like taking care of this or like accomplishing this on your own? Okay, they answer, all right. Now I know you said that you've been dealing with this problem for, the past couple months. What was it that made you decide that you wanted to solve this problem now? Like, what was the nail in the coffin that made you decide, yeah, I'm just going to book a call and take care of this? That, by the way, that little bar right there, that is one of my favorite like parts, or one of my favorite questions to ask in sales calls. That is one of those ones where you are pre-framing and framing the situation as if they're just like tired of this crap that they're dealing with and they just want to take care of it. It's pre-framing that they showed up to take action. You see what I mean? Okay, John, and what happens if you don't solve this in, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months? Okay, they answer. Now, at this point, actually, before I hit that, I want to outline what we're doing here is this is actually like trying to serve them psychologically, in that it's trying to get them to get out of their own way, essentially, by having them say aloud where they want to go, how fast they want to do it, what that effect they would have, or it would have on their business, their current life, their situation, things along those lines. That is subconsciously trying to get them out of their own way of, them being weird about actually taking action, solving a problem that they're on the call to solve. So you want to make it so that they don't give themselves excuses as to why they shouldn't make forward, or why they shouldn't make a move forward. Okay. And when you ask them this one, okay, understood, and what's stopping you from taking care of this or accomplishing this on your own? Once again, you are actually collecting data here for your own, to inform your own marketing, sales processes, things like that. Whether it's, I don't know how to do this, I don't have enough time to do this, I get so frustrated with it, I don't understand it, whatever issue that they have specifically. And also, just being real here, it also is a subconscious play where we're getting them to literally admit out loud that they're not able to do it on their own. That's why they're on the call. Okay. I already explained this one, that it's an absolute, one shot to get them to, or to pre-frame the situation as they are trying to solve this problem right now. And that's why they're on the call. Okay. And this one, once again, it's just to get them out of their own way. Like, okay, and what happens if you don't solve this in a given time frame? This is a tool for you to use to essentially, you're basically getting them to say out loud, like, okay, don't be an idiot. Like, I'm just going to stay stuck in this position and not actually making moves forward. If, in 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, I'm going to be in the exact same situation. Okay. So once again, you don't need to use this verbatim, but if you're talking to a more established business owner, where you're being a little bit more professional, when you say these things, you can say them in a more tactful way too. Think about this as like, this script that I'm giving you, this is what you are trying to communicate. How you say it is up to you. That's probably a better way of articulating this. Okay. Moving on. Oh, so at this point, you are going to be able to actually determine if the prospect is qualified or not. Huge, recommendation here. Don't try to sell unqualified prospects if their revenue numbers are not where they should be in order for, to justify paying for your service or your solution, whatever it may be. Don't even waste the time. Okay? It is a fool's errand. It is going to cause internal frustration, and your morale is going to drop if you try to sell unqualified prospects, okay? It's going to make you start to question your offering, the quality of your business, and therefore all your decisions in general, essentially. When in reality, everything is actually completely fine. Not to mention, it's also a massive waste of your precious time, because if you just dick around on a sales call, or, you have one of your reps on a sales call with someone that's, just a tire kicker, basically, they're here to, they don't actually have, they're not a professional yet that actually generates revenue, that actually makes decisions and moves forward. That same amount of time spent could be spent on more productive ROI generating tasks. So if someone's not professional and they're not a good fit, do not waste your time. Okay? You could send them in the right direction, send them to whatever sort of assets, or a downsell even maybe, but pushing an offer that is not right for someone onto them and just trying to close the deal, it's going to result in more problems, and that money becomes more expensive than it is worth. Okay? So if the prospect is a good fit, you can now ask if they would like you to explain your unique method of getting results and track record that backs it up. Okay? This is going to allow the perception that they are in control of the sales process and they're in control of their own decisions, while simultaneously getting them to say aloud another micro commitment that they are, in fact, interested in what you do and how it can help them. Okay? By the way, this part right here, I have some other trainings and other breakdowns of what this means, by the way, your unique method of achieving results. Because remember, as I push, you are not just a web designer or a web developer. You provide comprehensive marketing solutions where you are fantastic at web design, development, tech, so on. And that is part of it. Okay, but at the end of the day, we are here to provide people actual, tangible ROI and results. Okay, that's why people buy anything, not just to look prettier. Short little aside on that, by the way. Actually, you know what? I'm not. That's. Never mind. That is a whole nother video, and I'm not going to get into that right now because that is going to completely derail the the flow here. Anyway, that's another video that I was going to go into, talking about does design actually, is it even more effective, like really pretty like Figma designs and stuff. That's for another video. Anyway, the power statement, results, and the founding story transition. So in summary, John, what we do here is we help business owners like you achieve outcome. So in my case, I would do something like, so in summary, what we essentially do here at Seven Figure Web Design is we help web designers and web developers hit six-figure months, okay? And some examples of us doing this are, person or company, we took them from X to Y in time frame. Do that again. Obviously, if you don't have results, that's completely fine. You could just mention yourself, so on and so forth. This is remember, this is not like, hey, if you don't have all these crazy results, you can't use this. It's like, no, just use what you can, right? And of course, we also practice what we preach and apply our own methods to our own business, which took us from X to Y in time frame. It took us from, 0 to $1 million in 18 months or 0 to $1 million in 12 months. Now, actually, speaking of our methods and how this all began, the reason we figured out our unique counterintuitive method of generating the results that we do, it's actually something that I kind of discovered on accident. Or if it's your sales rep doing this, this is actually something that our CEO discovered kind of on accident. Okay, so what we're doing here is not only what we're doing is strongly declaring our company, what our company literally does for customers, not just in terms of like the web design stuff, but like what the transformation that we generate them. We carpet bomb them with proof of this statement, meaning past results. Once again, if you don't have them, don't worry. It's not the end of the world, okay? And then we transition into how this all came to be. Now, you may be wondering, do they actually care about the story or not? If you've properly established a status differential between them and yourself, then yes, they absolutely will. Especially when you say all the above with 110% certainty, that is going to make them very interested. For example, if I, let's say I get on a call with someone and say, so in summary, what we do here at Seven Figure Web Designer is we help web designers, web developers, web hosts, marketing agencies, anything along those lines, achieve six-figure months within, pick a time frame, within 24 weeks, within a year. I'll just say something on that, like something along those lines, right? If you say that declaratively, smoothly, immediately they just go like, okay, like amazing. Like if I said, yeah, I'll give like a very compressed answer. So in summary, what we essentially do here is we help web designers go from 0 to $1 million in a year. That's just what we do. And if someone hears it, they go like, oh shit, okay. See what I mean? It just like, it's very declarative. And then you follow it up immediately with some results. You mention how you applied it yourself or, your biggest case study. Actually, no, you want to mention yourself right here. Like we apply it to ourselves. Now, speaking of ourselves, this is how it began. Okay, so it's like a really smooth transition. Another thing to remember here is that for business owners, their business is usually like their life's work. Like they pour all, as if you are a business owner, or even like a freelancer, how much like energy you pour into it. So even the thought of discovering a unique and useful method that gets outsized results for the thing that they pour their life force into is going to be of great interest to them. Okay. Now, the founding story structure. This is, now, once again, this is not a, how do I put this? This founding story structure, you may think like, oh, well, I don't have like a whole like story and everything put together. It's like, well, that's what you're going to do for this. Okay. So you're going to put this together and you're going to do it because it is going to make your sales process this much more effective. And what you'll notice when I go through this right now is that this is something that does not just have to be only explained on sales calls. Like this can be in your marketing and sales collateral that people see before calls, right? So you, the founder, I'm talking about, when I say the founder, it's like if your sales rep is saying this, right? You, the founder, specializes or is an expert at something. Then you, or your largest case study done with a client, were faced with a very painful and specific problem. You looked everywhere for a solution, but everything available only solved the symptoms of a problem, not the actual root problem that was causing all those symptoms. When I say symptoms, I mean like effects, right? Like the external effects, right? Like for example, let's say on my end, it would be something like the problem that the symptoms that web designers have from not having a properly dialed in like pre-selling process and actually offering a comprehensive marketing solution instead of just like web design alone. It's like they have problem with a poor close rate. They have problems with poor lead generation rates. Whenever they do outreach or content marketing or ads, like the marketing message doesn't gain traction. It's not just like immediately getting like extremely low cost per lead and cost per conversion. Those are like the symptoms. Those are like what's happening, but there's a root problem that's causing all those symptoms. And meanwhile, what's typically occurring is that most people try to solve things at the symptom level, like they try to solve symptoms with like tactics. Meanwhile, the way to solve a root problem is by changing a strategy, if that makes sense. It's like instead of looking for hacks, it's like actually doing the thing that solves the problem. So you, the founder, had to dig in and solve the root problem yourself manually. The solution you created to solve the actual root problem causing the symptoms worked far better than you expected. Then what happened is that others started asking you to solve that root problem for them once they heard about the results you're achieving with your solution. Okay, you started selling that solution to those people that asked, doing it manually, or you or your team started doing it manually by yourself for each person at first, but eventually the demand became too great to handle just like manually done for you each time that you worked, or like, doing it all from the ground up and from scratch each and every time. So you began to like productize and systemize the solution. Okay. So, and then this is why, you actually can frame, but this story framing right here, and hopefully this is starting to like actually hit and make sense. This story framing right here is what allows you to reposition yourself as just from like web design or web development to like an actual marketing solution that can turn into a process and be productized and be automated and become more hands-off in the fulfillment. So it's the weird thing about like web design and web development, as I've mentioned here and in other videos and stuff, is that in order, like for repositioning yourself to occur, to allow you to close higher prices and actually create a consistent process and be outcome based, is this fundamental positioning. And what's funny is that every single business, by the way, follows this. Every like business that's actually like the product or solution it's providing that's worth its salt and it's actually worth something actually does follow this process. Okay. This is how, like, every single time, like, let's just take like PayPal, for example. It's like, okay, yeah, the problem is that, collecting payments and doing it digitally is a complete and utter pain in the ass. So, people were looking for a solution, and then the guys that founded like PayPal, like Elon and like a bunch of the other guys and stuff, it's like, yeah, they actually went and dug in and solved the root problem of, it's not banks, it's the fact that no one's just, done this on the internet yet. Okay, and that worked far better than they ever could have expected. Other people just started jumping in when they found it was available, so on and so forth. Okay, So once you nail, this is like totally repeatable, by the way. You can do this for yourself and for your clients. Okay? Like helping them get this sort of like story structure together. Okay? And you're going to use it on calls, marketing, messaging, so on. Now, once you nail your founding story down in this format, no exaggeration, you're literally going to be able to like one-shot prospects in under 90 seconds. Okay? It's actually crazy, and you might even be experiencing this yourself right now of like never having this realization that like, oh my God, like when I think about any business, like if I heard this format and structure of a story of how the solution came around, you just go like, oh my God, like, yeah, where can I buy? Right? Like just think about it and apply it to like anything. It works genuinely no matter what vertical we're talking about. No matter what industry, like this is repeatable. Okay, the format of this is like a story-based sales argument that increases trust by subtly covering the 3 formats of social proof in one fell swoop. Okay, which is logos. If you guys remember from like English classes and stuff, there's 3 different types of appeals or arguments that you can make. Right? There's logos, which is numerical and just like hard data, just logic. Ethos, which is like ethical or like credibility, so like third-party credibility, and then pathos, which is, you know, emotional arguments and emotional social proof. In this example, it'd be like FOMO due to other people like rushing your doors. Okay, I cannot emphasize enough that getting this story down and getting your story-based sales argument down will single-handedly increase your close rate by 10 to 20%. And I'm not saying don't fake it either. I'm not saying to make this up. Like, this is actually the path that you should follow, and like how an actually good solution is a byproduct, or like a good product is something that is usually actually typically created on accident, believe it or not. Like good products are usually made on accident. And they're, you know, like technology is a byproduct of you trying to, or technology or innovation rather, is something that's usually born out of you solving another problem, and in the process of solving an existing problem, you literally had to create new technology and methods and strategies and, how do I put this? Just, you know, you had to create solutions for yourself to solve an existing problem. Okay, and that methodology and that like technology you created to solve that other problem that you were dealing with while scaling something else or like building something else, that in and of itself becomes a new product. This is why whenever you hear about like billionaires or, you know, like really successful business owners, like why they can just like win over and over and over and over, and like they can just keep spawning like businesses over and over and over that solve problems and just like blow up overnight. This is how it's like a byproduct of like when you build something big, in the process of gaining that competitive advantage that allowed you to scale, you like not accidentally, but like you create something that other people would deem useful. Okay, so I'm not going to get too off topic here, but that's kind of like the main thing I'm trying to communicate. I just want to be thorough. I know this is long, but that's because I need to be thorough for you guys to get the best possible results. Next is walking through the root solution, or like your unique method. Once again, the unique method that is produced as a byproduct of you know, facing that painful problem and solution and figuring out how to solve the root problem, right? So now, this is actually the script. So now, how people in our industry usually try to handle this problem is that they try to, and then you say some activity that they usually do that only solves one of the symptoms of the root problem. You can like even repeat the one that you mentioned in your story. So what we do instead is this unique strategic approach that actually completely vaporizes that root problem, which results in symptoms 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to completely disappear for good. Okay. And then if you want to do a switch where it's not talking about it in a negative orientation, but positively, is like, okay, so what we do is actually we implement unique strategic approach so that, you know, people in our industry are able to achieve benefits 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 so that they can get outcomes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in this time frame. Okay, so I'll give you 2 examples for ourselves, right? Just so you have like more, because if you guys have examples, you like don't need to, make your brain work as hard to figure it out. I'll give you 2 mechanisms that we have for scaling web design, web development, things along those lines. So yeah, for web designers and developers under $100,000 a month in sales volume, we help them implement our pre-selling model into their business so that they're able to increase their pricing, compress their sales cycle, reduce the operational complexity of their fulfillment, and generally just start to build a more hands-off offering all in one fell swoop. Okay, another one for web designers, developers, even like marketing agencies and hosting companies who want to break past that multi-6-figure per month mark. We help them implement our website factories framework so that they can scale horizontally by running low-ticket automated funnels at scale and completely detach revenue growth from their time and start to build serious amounts of recurring revenue. Okay, so those are 2 like completely independent examples. So like you can keep making more of these as you develop new methodologies, new things along those lines. All right, John, so does that all make sense? This is what you ask once you actually explain it in a concise fashion, I should mention. You want to keep this relatively compressed. Awesome. And what part of it would you say resonates the most with you? Now, the reason we're asking this is that in order to increase their confidence in what you do and what you're about to sell them, you have to get them to articulate out loud how it works once you've explained it back to them. This is also why you want to keep it relatively concise. Because if they don't understand it, their subconscious is not going to allow them to buy it. Okay? If they do not understand and essentially see like the bridge that's going to allow them to go from where they are to where, the outcome, their subconscious mind is going to be like, hey, like this bridge that you're looking at right now has like missing, the bridge is broken. Like you're going to fall and die if you don't understand exactly how you're going from A to B, right? So we're getting them to articulate out loud that they understand our unique mechanism of achieving results, then solving the root problem. And by having them articulate it out loud, it causes a subconscious confirmation that they do understand how results are achieved, resulting in greater confidence. Just as well, they're also literally saying out loud what they like about it. It's really hard to not buy something when you basically just said out loud that you do, in fact, find it useful. Okay? That's, another huge point. Now, once, big thing here, once it is very clear that they actually do understand the unique mechanism, the unique method for achieving results, okay, then you're able to actually go into like the execution steps. If they do not understand the unique mechanism of getting results, they're not even going to understand why you're doing the execution steps and like the pre-close and actually like buying, right? So you need to make sure that they do understand the unique mechanism, okay? Now, the feature execution steps, these are all somewhat repetitive. However many steps it takes for you to actually get them the outcome, do as many as you need. I would advise keeping it in 3 major steps, but once again, do what you need to do. Have it as many steps as you need, but you want to keep it compressed, not short. There's a huge difference. If it's short, it feels like they're not getting that much. But if it's long, they're going to get bored and they're going to like just completely, like their eyes are just going to glaze over and they're just going to be like falling asleep. So keep it compressed, I would recommend. So step 1. Okay, so John, the first thing we do is step 1, which results in outcome. Okay, here's how it works. And you're going to show a visual demonstration. And if you have a slideshow, that's completely fine. You can just give examples of it, right? Now, this particular step is going to increase your metric, which is going to make you able to get a benefit, which means that you're no longer going to have to spend time, money, or be frustrated dealing with symptom. Here's an example of this step in practice. And then you're going to show data of either yourself or customers getting the outcome that this step provides. Does that make sense? Awesome. Okay, so I'll give an example of this just so that this is a lot more tangible. So in my case, it would be like, let's say for web designers, let me think. So step one is we're going to actually dial in your offer statement. Okay, the outcome you're providing people, the time frame that you do it in, what your unique mechanism is, so on and so forth. What this step is going to do, it is going to lower your cost per impression, your cost per lead, and increase your the show rate of your calls, which is going to make it so that you get an improvement in ROI on your ad spend. I'm just giving an example just for like paid ads, right? And I'm just like pulling this off the top of my head. Like I don't even have this like written out in front of me. So I'm just trying to make an example here that like you can just apply this to any step of the process over and over and over. So this step is going to make it so that the amount of booked calls you get for the exact same amount of content or the same amount of ad spend. Okay. So it's going to increase the amount of or decrease your cost per lead, which increases the amount of booked calls you get, which is going to make you able to close more deals, which means that you're also not going to have to spend any more time, money, be frustrated dealing with no-shows, tire kickers, things like that, because they actually clearly understand the offer and they're not just kind of like walking into unknown territory, right? Like they know what they're here for. You see what I mean? So like I'm just spitballing, but this is essentially what you're doing. Is like you're just walking them through each single step. Okay. Hey John, does this step make sense? Oh, it does? Awesome. Now, once we have that step dialed in, we'll then have the assets to be able to step 2, which results in outcome. Here's how it works. Show a visual demonstration. This is going to increase your metric, which is going to make you able to get this benefit, which means you will no longer have to spend time, money, or be frustrated dealing with symptom. Here's data, an example of this step in practice. So you can literally just repeat this over and over and over. Once again, this is why I call this the linear sales process, is because it just follows like a straight line. It's literally, you could just plug in variables and it just works. And as you're probably starting to notice now, and as I promised you in the beginning, this is unitary and evergreen and works across businesses. So you can apply this to clients as well. If you come in with a comprehensive marketing solution with a client and then you over deliver by also polishing up their sales process as well, I'm telling you, they're going to look at you like you are an angel that descended from heaven to help them specifically. Okay? Boosting close rate for people, especially if they like that wasn't even initially what they came in for, and like you just like over deliver like that, I am telling you, they're going to talk to everyone they know and say that they should, like, other people should work with you. It's crazy. Okay, so this obviously repeats over and over. It's the exact same structure, and it's because all these steps, step 1, 2, 3, 4, the reason that they're in that order is because they are interdependent and they rely on the previous steps being completed, obviously. Otherwise, they wouldn't be in order. So you need to make sure that you actually have them ordered out and you outline what steps people are taking, right? So make sure you get that ironed out and you actually have your steps outlined before, talking to the customers. Anyway, so by now, once you've gone through each and every one of these steps and you've actually made it very ironclad, and if you need to write it out before like taking a call, that's fine. Like you can do that. Like you can show this visually. In fact, prospects will appreciate it. You just want to make sure that if you do use like a slideshow or something, you want to make sure that you're not using the slideshow and making the prospect feel stupid. That's the only issues with like slideshows or presentations. This is why I usually don't even do presentations. I just show people the fulfillment on calls. Like I show exactly what they're going to get in the exact order and like live, and I show them the assets that we're going to go through together. Instead of, because if you show a presentation, you run a risk of, it can make it more clear, but it can also run the risk of making the prospect feel stupid. Like whenever I see someone, like if someone every time someone gives me like an actual slideshow and sales presentation, it makes me feel like they think I'm stupid. It's case by case. It's good for your sales reps to do because it keeps them like on a straight line, but just something to keep in mind. You can do it. I'm just saying, like, keep it top of mind, like how you word things and how you explain them. You just don't want to make people feel dumb. So by now, at this point, the prospect at hand should clearly understand us as a company, the founding story and how our unique method of getting results was discovered, the unique method for getting results, and our steps of implementation. Okay, now our last step before getting into the close is gathering one last micro commitment and confirming that they are bought in the vehicle for getting them results. So, John, based on everything that we just went over, what about the service, the program, the solution, do you believe that you're going to find most useful? Or like what specifically do you like, or do you think that you're going to get the most use out of everything that I just went over, all the steps? Okay, they're going to say it, and keep that in mind. That's like a huge piece of data for yourself. Okay, like when I was I'll give you a good example. The most common thing that I heard when I was operating primarily more in like the fitness niche and working with like fitness influencers and everything and building their funnels and their sites and stuff, the most common one I heard was like the steps of like dialing in the offer and and making like pre-call nurturing content, right? Like sales assets and marketing assets, stuff like that. Those are the two common ones that I heard the most: offer and pre-call content. So from their perspective, that's what they deem most valuable, which means that because they deem that the most valuable, that's the things I need to talk about the most and talk about most in ads and content marketing, that sort of stuff, right? Now, right here, this is one of my absolute most favorite like landmine detection things before hitting the actual price and hitting the close. I found a great amount of use out of this, and I recommend you use it as well. Now, I also want to keep in mind that you kind of want to say this like somewhat lightheartedly and make it like almost very carefully make this into like a little bit of a joke. Okay, you're gonna appreciate that. If you say this too straightforward, they're not gonna get the sarcasm, and it's gonna make them feel weird. So make sure you say this like a little bit lighthearted. Okay, gotcha. So just so I know, on a scale of 1 to 10, where like 1, you think everything I just went over is like, just an absolute dumpster fire and you'd do anything to get off this call right now. Or 10, where you're extremely confident in your ability to execute on everything that we go over with you, your team, and just everything I went over in general in the process, and get results using our service, program, solution, however you frame your thing. Where would you say you lie on that scale? If they say anything other than a 10, you need to dig out from them what the reason is that it's below a 10. And this is why this one is like so effective at like digging out landmines, because if they say 10, first of all, if you fumble that deal, just by the way, if someone says 10 and you like execute on everything we went over just perfectly, and like they don't close after saying 10, you massively fumbled. I'm just going to be real. But if they say like a 9 or like an 8, actually here, I'll go through like some of the ones I've heard. Whenever they say 9, it usually indicates that they believe that like your stuff works. They just don't know if it's going to work for them and they're going to be able to implement it, which you need to handle right there. That's typically what it is from what I've seen. If someone says like 7 or 8, the lower on the scale they go, the more it's about you, not about them. So if they say like 9, it's actually like a self-confidence and like confidence in their own like company or ability to execute. It's not about you. If it's like a 7, by the way, no, I've never once heard anyone say below 7, because the more they go below that, the more they feel like they're insulting you. Okay, so the main point here is that like you want to dig out whatever is like stopping them from saying it's a 10 and being like, okay, like let me handle that question. Okay. So, and the reason we want to do this, and you really want to make sure you like take care of this and get them to like a 10 beforehand or before getting the price, is that handling questions and things that could be, perceived as objections after the price is dropped is 10 times harder than handling it before. Okay? Any excuse or question is something that they can use as essentially like an excuse to get off the call. Because remember, a lot of the time with sales, sorry, I'm just like fixing my shoelace really quick. Anytime with sales, when people don't close after they got on the call, you need to, like, the reason that they don't close is that they've basically given them an excuse why they can't move forward. So you need to knock out, that's what sales actually is just getting rid of excuses, okay? And you need to make sure you knock them out. Like, a lot of the time it's, provided you actually have, like, you actually have something good and, like, you actually know what you're doing. Believe it or not, a lot of the time it's them, not you, but you just didn't handle their lack of conviction that they have properly. That's what fumbling a sale is. It's all just about increase of confidence. That's everything is. That's even like, you take it down to the level of our currency. Like, our currency is literally fiat currency. It's not backed by anything. It's not real. But the reason people use it is because of trust and conviction in governments, right? I'm not going to get all like political and macroeconomic and stuff. I'm just trying to give an example here of like, everything is about conviction and trust. Okay? Now, getting into the close. Okay, John. So what the next steps look like is we're going to get you into Slack or whatever other communications platform you use. We want to make sure that before anything else, we establish communications before anything else. Then once you are in Slack, we're going to immediately schedule our onboarding call so we can start executing immediately, making progress as fast as possible, getting creative assets together, etc. Also, inside your Slack channel, you'll also see a pinned booking link at the top of your channel where you can book a call at any time throughout the duration of our engagement. Or, you can change the words on this to make it fit how you go about delivering and operating, to go over progress, questions, consultative help, anything like that at any time. Then the second we have those taken care of, I'm also going to grant you access to our onboarding doc or training docs. So we have all the necessary materials, all the business's metrics prepared for our onboarding call so we can focus the entire time completely on execution, okay? And once again, you can feel free to add more here. I would not recommend going particularly too much longer after this. You want to keep it compressed and some, like they know everything that's going to happen. If you do too much, they're going to like get forgetful. When you say this, it is imperative that you state it without a single hint of ambiguity. Like, you just say it like you've done this 800 times and this is, 801, right? You're just like processing them. Okay? Telling a customer, the reason we do this, and this might sound premature, it's like, aren't they like right here thinking about like, yo, what's the price? Like, how come you're telling me this stuff? The reason is that telling them exactly like how you're going to maintain communications, exactly what is going to happen after they pay, and making sure that you say all this before you talk about payment calms them down exponentially. They might feel impatient, and it's weird. It's one of those things like they don't even know this because they're just thinking, okay, like you're talking about what we're going to do, but we haven't even said like price yet. And like you're talking about onboarding and stuff. By saying this, you're preemptively removing the objection of like, well, like, are we going to go into like, how are we going to talk? Like, what are we going to do? So on and so forth. So like, you want to let them know this beforehand, okay? To make them, okay, like this is professional. Like this is a whole process. They have this down. So yeah, you're basically just making it so that they feel like they're not just walking into the dark and just praying everything goes right. Okay. Just make them more comfortable. That's all we're doing. Also, huge, hack here. You can rack up serious, subtle bonus points if you flash your communications channel, whatever it may be, Slack or Circle or whatever, on a screen share, and you show you just have like all Slack channels open, like a full roster of like client communications, right? Excuse me. show like a full roster of client communication channels, like active communications. If people see that there are like dozens of other people active, they are so much more calm. It's crazy. Okay. Pretend that like that's like an extra 5 or 10%, chance, or not chance, but like 5 or 10% increase of close rate just from that alone. Okay. Bonus point. If you create a group chat where like clients, members, however your marketing solution, functions on the back end, if you create it like an additional like group chat where clients in your industry can talk amongst each other freely, share strategies, contact information, so on and so forth, and you show that on the call, oh my God, like that's bonus points. Wow, they must do really good work if they allow paying customers to talk to each other freely. That's what's happening in their head, okay? Now, moving on. So, I'd recommend doing that. The pricing drop. Now, there's so many different ways you can do this, what I'm about to show you, but I'll give you 2 examples. Biggest thing I want to communicate here is that never, and I mean never, pitch a single price. You always pitch an option of how they want to buy, not if they want to buy. Okay, this single switch alone is going to bump your conversion rate up. Another like huge law of sales that I never see anyone mention is that the second number that you pitch people is the number that you're actually trying to close. You always start with like not like a price anchor necessarily, but like your people, it's partially price anchoring, but you're creating and setting up like the chessboard or setting up everything to make the decision easier for them. Okay? First of all, you want to make it so that they have a decision, and you're also making it easier for them. Okay? Don't like it's, if you think about it, it's almost like it's irresponsible to put the stress of making like a huge decision onto someone else. Like really, it is. So you want to make it easier for them, and you want to like de-stress them by offering them a decision and making one of those decisions the obvious winner. Okay? It allows them to feel more in control. It de-stresses them, and that's your responsibility, is to de-stress them. In terms of like making a decision to like prevent the barrier from them just being stuck in the state that they've been in this whole time, which is why they're on the call. So feel free to try all these, experiments, you just try them all. Okay. Also, the prices that are used in these are just examples. All right, John. So now that we got, we talked about all that in terms of the investment or service fee, however you're framing your thing that you're selling. Now, in terms of the service fee for us to start implementing everything I just went over, we have 2 options. So the total investment or total service fee is $22,800 USD. Now, I want to preface this with saying that how we used to offer that was a split pay of $11,400 up front, then $11,400 after delivery, or you could say like, a monthly time frame. However you're framing this, totally up to you. Then $11,400 after delivery. But recently we have started to get people that were asking if they could just pay it upfront to get any sort of like discount or incentive pricing. So we started offering that for $18,800 if paid upfront and on the call. So you could just let me know like which one of those works better for you. If you'd rather do if you'd rather do the split pay or the, I guess you could say like discount incentive pricing if paid upfront. Okay. That right there, and you're probably like starting to like take this in and starting to realize like why that's good. Is one, you are giving them both options here. If you really think about it, both of these are de-risked, right? Because you're giving them the option like, hey, if you want to only just pay half up front, that's totally fine. Okay, so it's like that's option 1 is already de-risked, or 2, save $4,000. Also, once again, the numbers are just examples. Make this pricing whatever, actually you need for, whatever you're doing. But both of these are de-risked. You see what I mean about talking, like where I'm talking about, you just like the fact that they have options means they can de-risk, and you're essentially, I call this like gamifying the sales process of always giving people options of how they want to buy. Massively increases conversion rate, but it also like both of these are de-risk because they can either like, I'm more comfortable just paying half up front, or they can just save $4,000, for example, or whatever, thousands of dollars. Okay. Example 2, this is good for people that are don't really have that many testimonials and things like that yet. Now, in terms of the service fee for us to start implementing everything I just went over, we offer 2 options. The total service fee is $10,800 USD and that's with no testimonial required after completion if you're adamant about staying private, or $7,800 USD for everything that we've gone over so far. And in return, you deliver a testimonial after we deliver everything. Which one of those works better for you? Okay. Slightly different, but this is kind of what I mean. Like, this makes it feel like, they're bartering with you a little bit. Okay. There's like countless different ways to do this, of like what I call like a pricing 2-stack, or like gamifying the sales process and gamifying the close, but you want to do it. You want to do at least, one of them. I have so many other different examples of how to do these and of different methods of doing it. This doesn't even apply to like just sales calls, by the way. It's like automated checkout funnels. We do this as well. But big principle here is just gamifying and de-risking the sales process by giving them options and so on. If you are a beginner, you're more beginner, and you're looking to like build up your testimonial and client bank and everything, this one is, it's solid, because if they want to stay private, cool, but you're certainly going to fucking make it worth our time, right? Or this one, it's de-risked inherently. There's multiple others, but you get the idea, I hope. So there's a couple different things happening with each of these. This is the most important part. If there was only one pricing option, the conversation inside the prospect's head is, should I buy this? But because we are smart noodles, we change the conversation in their head by introducing a second pricing option, which makes the conversation, how do I want to buy this? That is a way better conversation for the prospect to be having inside their head for us, right? That is a way better conversation for them to be having inside their head. 2, we've incentivized and ratcheted up the pressure of them paying upfront and in full in order for us to capture more customer LTV and get more upfront commitment from them. Then, another little thing here that you might have noticed in this one, by saying people started asking if they could pay upfront, we've introduced 2 elements of assumed social proof. One of these that people have recently been asking to buy in the first place, and 2 is that the second being that other people are opting to choose the paid in full option. You see what I mean? Also, by the way, this is kind of tangential. You kind of always want to optimize for people paying in full. Okay? Let's just like keep that in mind. The reason is, sorry, 1 second. I'm talking so much like all the blood is leaving my brain and I'm yawning. The reason you want to optimize for getting payment in full, not only is it like guaranteeing like the money, but when paid in fulls happen, the focus of the entire engagement is now just on execution, and they're not consciously thinking about more money coming out of their more money coming out of their business and increased continual expenses. Okay? So it's ideal that they do pay in first, which is what you want to optimize for. Now, so long story short on that one is that people will literally get results faster because now all focus is just on execution. There's no extra like rent space being taken up inside their head about like more money coming out. That's essentially what I'm getting at. And then finally, the other the cherry on top here is that because we finished the price drop by saying which one of these works better for you, we've tactfully removed that like weird typical like strategic silence period in sales calls where, like this is mainly a thing with like older business owners or like older people, like from, like older generations. I've noticed they kind of believe that whole that old myth about like, oh, whoever talks after the price drop first loses. Like that's so like cheesy, and it's so like, it's like coming into the whole like frame of everything is like very, very, that's what I'm looking for. It's coming at it from like a very, why am I blanking on the word right now? Conflict-oriented point of view, when it's like, we're on the same team here, like this is just commerce, like by charging a price, like I'm not hurting you. You know what I mean? Like people have this weird thing where they think like the more that someone charges, like the more that they're harming you, and it's like, no, what the hell? So by just ending it with like, which one of those would you say works better for you, or like better for your business? Just better for you. I'm just saying it casually, like which one of those would you say works better for you? We've tactfully like changed the, set up the chessboard so that like strategic silence crap that some prospects will get weird and try to play those games, they don't do that anymore, because now if they remain silent, it's even more awkward on their part if they try to play those weird like fuck games of like trying to like mess around. It's like we're being professional. If someone tries to play those like weird silence, those silence games, you just want to like cut it out by asking something like this, like which one of those works better for you? Because like you end with a question. Also, if they do still even play this crap of like, they just like look at the camera and try to play the silence games, you just can go like, hey, did you hear me? Then right there, they're just like, oh yeah. And if they go like, what, if they don't respond after that, then it's making the social pressure so that it's like they're coming off like the weirdo, which is like, professional prospects don't play like silence game crap, by the way. Just, I want you, be aware of that. If you're in a good position to where like you can actually like walk away from the deal and be totally fine with it, I would be extremely wary of prospects that play that silence game crap, because they are not there to actually make progress. They're there to waste your fucking time. So I'd be, this is just making it so that we're not wasting each other's time. For pricing no-nos, this is like a do not do list. Do not show a slide at the end of the call where you have like, I've seen web designers do this before, and I've like, when I talk to people and they do this crap, I get so frustrated when I see this, where they have like this slideshow and they show like 15 different pricing options for like page count and like all these different features. And it's like, yo, you're the business owner that you're talking with, like you are not making it any easier for them to make a decision, because they go like, well, like what the hell? Like what, they don't know about all these features. They don't know what SSL is. They don't understand why page speed is necessary. Like barely they do. So like main thing here is like, you don't pull that crap. I've seen so many people do it where they like have a slideshow where it's like, I've seen one before. This was actually, side tangent here. I remember talking to someone one time that had like on one single slide 9 different options, and I was like, "What are you doing?" Like, this is ridiculous. Like, you have to think about it from another person's perspective. If they just give you 9 different options right at the finish line at different prices, first of all, the likelihood that they close is very little. Second thing that happens is that they're probably going to default to one of the lower prices. It's like, just offer 2 ways to pay for the same thing, okay? And if you're saying right now, like, whoa, it's about like page count and this, that doesn't matter at all. And what I mean by that is like, you should be charging one single price. It does not like, and if you need to price it higher, then do that. That's fine. You remember, like, and this is one thing I think that's very interesting, is that when you get people an outcome, then you know everything that needs to actually be delivered in order to get the result. It's not like, oh, like, well, we need to figure this out, da 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 da. Like, you are in control and you determine what is needed. Therefore, you can determine how much needs to be charged. Like, don't pull that whole crap of giving them like 9 different or like 6 different pricing options. It is going to confuse the hell out of them, and they are not going to close. They don't understand all the features. They don't want to understand all the features. That's why they're paying you to do it. So don't place that kind of stress on them. That's extremely irresponsible. On the same note, the whole like, okay, well, I'll preface this with saying if you are doing like a massive project that requires like a multi-call close and it is like a huge deal, this does not apply as much. If it is under like say $25,000, it should be pretty much like one call close. If not like a minor follow-up to like iron out a detail or two. Okay? And I know that sounds crazy. I've done it. Okay? So, like, literally like $25,000 engagements on single call closes. And I have people that have done it as well. Like, I have students and clients that have closed, like this guy named Tony. It was a $22,000 paid in full by wire single call close. And I have another guy, his name is Steven. It was for a real estate company for $20,000 flat. One call close. Okay? So, newsflash, you can do that much in a one call close, all right? Following the sales process and other things that we have, like our content marketing and pre-selling stuff. Anyway, do not pull the whole, okay, well, I need to go back and need to determine the amount of hours this is going to take to perform XYZ work, blah, 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 blah. That is so unprofessional. Unless, like, I'm serious when I say, like, it needs to be, like, a serious, like, undertaking if that's the case. Okay? Like, you should be able to literally pull the price in that moment and be able to price the deal on the spot. If you cannot, you don't know your craft well enough. And you aren't, like, that's, if you're one of those people that's like, well, no, I need to like page count this, that, and the other. It's like, I'm sorry to say it, but newsflash, you don't know your craft well enough if you can't price on the spot. And after, not to mention, keep in mind, we just ran a very extensive and very in-depth discovery process. So you should absolutely have all the information you need to price on the spot. If you don't, you either A, didn't run your discovery process well enough, or B, you don't know your craft well enough to like actually price on the spot. Okay? And also keep in mind, here's another thing too. Remember if you come at things with high certainty and everything, it's fine. And what I mean by that is like, let's just say you priced inaccurately for any reason. Let's just say like, oh, this whole thing we're undertaking is actually going to be like a way bigger deal than I thought it was. Dude, just tell them that later. Be transparent. It's fine. You could just tell them later, be like, hey, look, when we undertook this deal, and after going over some of the scope, realize that there's going to be a lot more work required in order to execute on this other thing. Like, let's say, for example, that there was something they didn't mention. Because, like, the only time, like, think about it like this. The only time that you'd accidentally or, like, inaccurately price a deal for any reason, whatever the scope may be, is because you didn't get, like, the client wasn't forthright about everything involved. Okay? That's it. So, it's subtly, like, there's no harm in literally telling them later, like, hey, look, this is, this additional level of scope, this was not planned for. Here's what we can do. Because I want to be as professional as possible and be forthright and tell you this right now, the second that, I had figured this out and I had seen this. One, we can execute X, Y, and Z, like what you thought you were initially going to execute because that's what they told you on the call. Or B, we can do, or sorry, not two options. There's like 3 options. B, This is what the pricing is for all, like, this additional step that we need to take in order to accomplish this. Or C, we could just refund you if for any, like, at any time, like, we just refund you if this is, X, Y, and Z. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Like, what's weird about, like, refunding and stuff is that if you say it, and, like, if you say, like you act like it's not a problem, people are like, oh, like, they don't need my money, like, they're good. It's very weird how it works, but, like, if you come at people with that perspective of, like, if you bring it up first, it's like, oh, also, like, we could do this as well. Literally just let us know. Doesn't matter to us. First of all, they're not going to ask for a refund. Meaning, like, if you say it with enough confidence and everything, where it's just like, if you actually come across correctly, like, you don't need the money, then they're not going to actually ask for the money back. Now, the other thing too is also, like, you could just do it. Like, you could just fulfill. If there's, like, a little bit of extra work, like, don't be a stickler. Like, don't be a Scrooge. Like, just over-deliver for people and let them know afterwards. That's another thing too, is, like, over-deliver and be like, hey, also, by the way, I just want to let you know, like, there was this other thing that we encountered in the process in order to do all this that we initially didn't price in, but I just went ahead and I included it in our initial deal and everything. X, Y, and Z, like, it'd be really nice if in return you gave, like, a testimonial video, X, Y, and Z, because we didn't want to charge you anymore because that was the agreed on price. And we decided to go above and beyond just to make sure that, you had a great experience and that there wouldn't be any more friction in the process. That's the one I would opt for. And that's the one I've done in the past. Like, I've done this shit before where it's like, yep, turns out it's actually way more work than I thought it was going to be initially. Okay, suck it up and just do it. And just make it known after the fact. They're going to think that you're, once again, an angel descended from heaven, sent to, like, solve all their problems. Okay? Literally just suck it up and do it. Who cares? No, oh no, you have more proof of concept and there's no friction. You kept all the money. Boom. You won. Like, you still won. You know what I mean? You just have, like, more ammunition. You still won. So it's basically like, don't be a stickler, don't be a Scrooge. Like, just do it. Price high. If for any reason the solution at the end of the day is just, like, price high, price expensively. Like, there's people out here buying, like, $25,000 like comprehensive builds and stuff. Like, just charge it. It's fine. Okay. Yeah. So if you can't price on the spot, it comes off unprofessional as hell. It subtly signifies to the prospect that you don't get customers often enough to have a consistent pricing model for delivering the transformation that you provide. People that actually run volume have set prices, or they can price on the spot. Am I saying that you're wrong? By the way, with all this, keep in mind, I'm not saying you're wrong either for wanting to, like, take some time and calculate the pricing. What I'm saying is perception is reality. If you sit there on a call and, like, you, like, look at the whole scope of the project and you're like, okay, you know what? I think with all the scope and everything in here before, I've done stuff. I've done, like, we've done projects that are similar in, like, size and X, Y, and Z all together. And you just, like, subtly flash results again right there. Like, yeah, we did it for Acme SaaS, and we got them this result by performing something similar. I believe we could do this for 22,800 and implement everything. Get it done 3 weeks to a month at most. I'm under promising and over delivering on the time frame. Right there. But you see how, like, just from that frame alone, it's literally like, okay, like, this guy knows his shit. Like, they know their shit. Like, they're you flash some social proof that you've done similar things like this before. You put a time frame on it. You priced it. You know your numbers like the back of your hand. Boom. Professional. Okay? You don't dawdle and, like, take time. Like, professionals move very quickly and know things and know their numbers. Okay? So once again, think about it from someone else's standpoint. Set prices must mean that they have set processes. Or not even just set prices, but just, like, how do I put this? Not set prices necessarily, but more like, if they know the price quickly and they can price things in the moment, they have set processes and they know what they're doing. Like they're confident, right? If you take more time to make decisions, that is literally the definition of indecision and being indecisive, which makes you look unprofessional and like you don't know what you're doing and you haven't done this before. That's why I say this. I see so many people in web design screwing this shit up and doing the whole like, yeah, well, here's what we do for 5 pages and 10 pages and 15 pages. It's like, you should know that. If you put it on a damn slideshow, you know it. And 2, you're getting people an outcome anyway. Like, it's not about the page count. If the page count is part of getting them an outcome, just do it and just have a price. It's that simple. Like, this isn't really that hard if you think about it. Okay, and that's pretty much what we got for the entire sales script here. At the very bottom, we have the call flow, like a checklist, if you want to follow along with that. Also, like, obviously, for those of you that are like our internal customers and everything, you guys have the spreadsheet for recording down prospects' responses, their lead sources, stuff like that. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I got for this video. Go ahead and give it a like, give it a subscribe. And you can also check the link for this, as I mentioned in the beginning. It is in the description of this video. Use it on your clients, train your salespeople. This is not the full advanced, this is not the full length sales training, by the way. This is just the sales script. Believe it or not, I know we're already at, looks like an hour and a half here. The full sales training is actually like 5 or 6 times longer than this. This is just the sales script alone. So keep an eye out for that. Subscribe to the channel. I'll catch you guys in another video or in the next one that I drop. It's going to be relatively soon. I don't know when I'm going to be launching the full-blown sales training. It's going to obviously be a lot more in length and density and whatnot, so we'll get there. But, yeah, that's pretty much all I got for this one. I will catch you guys in the next video.